Welcome to Little English Studio, the channel where history, culture, and the wonders of our world come to life, told in clear and simple English. Today we journey back almost 2,000 years to a time when the mighty Roman Empire ruled much of the known world. At the very edge of that empire in the wild north of Britain stood a wall strong, vast, and built to last. It was more than stone and mortar. It was a symbol of power, control, and civilization at the frontier of the world. This is the story of Hadrian's Wall, the great Roman frontier that divided empires, cultures, and history itself. Our story begins in the year AD 122. The Roman Emperor Hadrian, one of the most capable and forward-thinking rulers of his time, visited the province of Britannia, a distant, cold, and often rebellious land at the edge of his empire. By then, the Romans had already conquered much of southern Britain, building cities, roads, and forts. But beyond the rolling hills of northern England lay fierce tribes, the Picts and other Celtic peoples, who refused to bow to Rome's rule. Constant raids, uprisings, and instability drained resources and soldiers. Hadrian, a man of strategy and discipline, decided it was time to draw a line both physical and symbolic. He declared, "Let us separate the Romans from the barbarians." And so began one of the greatest engineering projects in ancient history, Hadrian's Wall. The construction began soon after Hadrian's visit, around AD 122, and took nearly 6 years to complete. The wall stretched 117 kilometers, 73 miles from Wallsend on the River Tyne in the east to Bowness on Solway in the west, cutting across the rugged northern landscape of England. It was not a single uniform structure. Some parts were built from stone, others from turf and timber, depending on local materials. But everywhere it stood as a powerful statement: Rome is here and this is the limit. The wall was around 5 to 6 meters high and 3 meters wide, with a deep ditch on the northern side and a military road behind it for troops to move quickly. Every Roman mile, about 1.5 kilometers, there stood a mile castle, a small fort where soldiers guarded gates and watched the frontier. Between mile castles were 2 turrets, smaller watchtowers for surveillance. Every few miles there were large forts such as Housesteads, Birdoswald, and Chesters, that housed hundreds of soldiers, stables, barracks, kitchens, and even bathhouses. The wall was not only a defense but a living, breathing border system, part fortress, part customs checkpoint, part symbol of Rome's greatness. Who built the wall? Not slaves, as many might think, but Roman soldiers, legionaries, and auxiliaries from all over the empire. These men came from distant lands: Spain, Syria, Gaul, modern France, North Africa, Germany, and beyond. Each brought with them their own language, food, gods, and customs. Life along Hadrian's Wall was a blend of discipline and diversity. Soldiers trained daily, repaired defences, patrolled the border, and watched for raiders. But they also traded with local Britons, married local women, and settled in nearby villages. Archaeological excavations have revealed fascinating traces of their lives: letters written on wooden tablets, leather sandals, gaming pieces, cooking pots, and even personal prayers to Roman gods. The most famous discoveries come from Vindolanda, a fort just south of the wall. There, perfectly preserved wooden tablets reveal everyday conversations from nearly 2,000 years ago, birthday invitations, shopping lists, and notes about supplies. One soldier's wife wrote a letter saying, "I invite you, my sister, to my birthday party. Farewell, sister, my dearest soul." These tiny details remind us that even on a remote frontier, people still laughed, celebrated, and lived full lives. Was Hadrian's Wall really a military defense, or was it something more? Historians believe that the wall was as much a symbol of power and control as it was a barrier against invasion. The northern tribes were fierce but not organized enough to threaten Rome seriously. Instead, the wall marked the official edge of Roman authority, a customs and immigration line where taxes could be collected and people monitored. It told everyone, both inside and outside the empire, here is Rome. Beyond this line lies the unknown. For the Romans, it was also a way to manage trade and movement. Merchants and travellers could pass through gates at mile castles, showing papers and paying duties. In this way, Hadrian's Wall was both a physical structure and a psychological frontier, the dividing line between civilization and wilderness. Let's take a walk along the wall itself. Imagine marching across hills and valleys, wind in your face, the stone path beneath your feet. Every few miles you'd find a fort like Housesteads, Vercovicium, one of the best preserved Roman forts in Britain. Inside its stone walls were barracks for 800 soldiers, a granary for food, a hospital, and even a communal bathhouse where soldiers relaxed after long days. At Chester's Fort, archaeologists found remains of a Roman bridge across the River Tyne and luxurious commanders' quarters, complete with underfloor heating. Meanwhile, the nearby villages, or vici, were home to merchants, craftsmen, and families who supported the troops. Women wove cloth, blacksmiths repaired armor, and traders sold wine, olive oil, and pottery imported from the Mediterranean. Despite being far from Rome, the people along the wall lived surprisingly cosmopolitan lives, a blend of Roman sophistication and local Celtic traditions. Over time, Hadrian's wall was not always peaceful. After Hadrian's death, his successor Antoninus Pius built another wall further north, the Antonine Wall in Scotland, but it was soon abandoned, and troops returned to Hadrian's line. For nearly 3 centuries, the wall stood as the Roman Empire's northern frontier, but as time passed, the empire weakened. By the late 4th century, soldiers were recalled to defend other parts of the empire, trade slowed, the forts fell silent. By AD 410, Rome had officially withdrawn from Britain. The local people reused stones from the wall to build homes, churches, and farms, yet the legend of the wall never disappeared. It became part of British folklore, a mysterious line across the hills, built by giants or ancient kings. Centuries later, when historians rediscovered its true Roman origin, Hadrian's Wall became a symbol once again, not of empire but of endurance. Serious study of Hadrian's Wall began in the 18th and 19th centuries, when antiquarians like William Hutton walked its length and documented its remains. Archaeological excavations in the 20th century, especially at Vindolanda and Housesteads, revealed astonishing artifacts, writing tablets, armor, pottery, and even fragments of fabric and food preserved in the soil. These discoveries transformed our understanding of Roman Britain. They showed that the wall was not a cold, isolated frontier. It was a vibrant, multicultural zone of contact and exchange. In 1987, Hadrian's Wall was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site, recognized as one of the most important Roman remains anywhere in the world. Today, visitors can walk along long stretches of the wall, following trails that cross breathtaking landscapes, rolling hills, green fields, and ancient ruins standing against the sky. Hadrian's Wall has inspired centuries of legends, books, and films. Some say it inspired the wall in Game of Thrones, a vast northern barrier defending civilization from the wild beyond. It represents the eternal human desire to build borders, to mark what is ours and what is not, to protect, to define, to control. But it also reminds us that every wall, no matter how mighty, eventually falls, and that what remains is not the stone, but the stories of the people who lived behind it. In modern Britain, Hadrian's Wall has become a symbol of unity between past and present, a place where history breathes through every stone. Thousands of visitors each year walk the Hadrian's Wall path, stretching from coast to coast, imagining what it must have been like to stand guard at the edge of the Roman world. And that was the story of Hadrian's Wall, the Roman frontier of Britain, a line of stone that once divided an empire, now unites people from around the world in wonder and curiosity. From Emperor Hadrian's vision to the lives of soldiers on the frontier, from ancient conflicts to modern discoveries, the wall remains one of the greatest symbols of history's endurance. Thank you for watching this episode of Little English Studio. If you enjoyed exploring Hadrian's Wall and want to learn more about world wonders, history, and culture, told in clear and simple English, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See you in the next video.